Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Well, I'm a dumb idiot because now I just made like a really loud noise. It'll probably... We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if amplifier works.
I mean, it'd be stupid if you can't even make a loud noise. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, well,
you have to be like restrained. You're like, here we are in our.
I think
today we're talking about some film. You know, like.
Yeah, well, dude, I wanted so badly. I was gonna come on, and before we started, I wanted to get your take to be like, well, I'm just a podcast man. No, I was doing it all. I finished this movie yesterday, and so I was I'm just a podcast man, and my specialty is film. God, no, I had it. It was so much better. I was doing it.
Well, that's staying. So this is the Coldest Cinema Knowledge Podcast. That's Jordan, the podcast man, and I'm Levi. I'm just I'm more of a simple, humble podcast man.
Oh yeah,
no,
yeah. You see, yeah, film is my plentiful, bountiful thing.
When it comes to the showdown, I promise you, they won't be there.
Yeah, right.
I know. I wanted to learn.
Other podcasters, they won't be there for you like we are.
It's funny, but before this movie even got picked, I went to a work party with my wife, and for some reason, it was like she'd not been working there all that long, so it was kind of awkward. But her boss was like, "Oh, we're gonna have like a talent show, so everyone come up and like do a talent," and Mary made it sound like everyone had to do one, so I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to, but I'll learn a monologue. And I was like, I'm going to do that speech at the beginning of There Will Be Blood, which, hey, guess what? That's what we're talking about today. You clicked on the thing. But I'm glad I didn't have to do it. But so when we watched There Will Be Blood, I leaned over to Mary, and it's like the first dialogue in like, over 15 minutes. And I was like, so you think they'd be weirded out if I just went on there and did this speech? In front of everyone is my talent. It's funny,
perfect, dude.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like I probably suck at monologues because I have a pretty bad memory for detail. But it's like, yeah, I can act.
You're not Daniel Day-Lewis.
I can act.
Are you telling me that you're not Daniel Day-Lewis?
I can act okay. I might be Daniel Day-Lewis, but I'm more of like I'm gonna improv. I can't learn the lines. It's every time is different. It's like jazz.
Well, dude, like 100% of this movie is improv, so don't even fret.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there are so many chunks of it that was like written, and then he just got off and he was just like Daniel Day-Lewis was just riffing, dude. He spent 3 years like mastering Daniel Plainview, so it's like
that tracks. I'm so sad he's retired, but I just tell myself in my heart he's just studying for his ultimate role. He lives in like a village in Ireland or something right now. Just
cobbling, dude.
That's what I'm saying. He's just a cobbler.
He's a cobbler, dude. He just cobbles, man.
He's gonna come back after like a 20-year hiatus and be like the ultimate. Like he's like, oh yeah, I'm playing a guy that was a cobbler for 20 years. It's the ultimate role.
that would be amazing. And he just like it's like fucking just like 45 minutes of him just like putting a shoe together. Like,
dude, but that's already kind of what Phantom Thread is, except for just with dresses.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, we would just watch him kind of hunched. Dude, Daniel Day-Lewis's hunch is amazing. He hunches so well.
He's got the perfect skeleton. I'm so jealous.
He does. Yeah,
I'm so jealous of his skeleton. Because even when in this movie he like breaks his leg at the beginning, and the whole movie he's got like the limp and stuff, and it gets worse with his age, and like you can tell like he's got the pains and everything. And I'm like watching him, and I'm like, I know he probably feels great. He's just that good of an actor, or he just actually broke his leg. One of the two.
That's where it comes to.
He just like takes a hammer to his knee. Like who knows? He's a psychopath. Well, he's the one. He's the method actor everyone makes fun of. Whoops. In like it's like Landon Cobb from Futurama with the bag head, and fucking Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder.
In Tropic Thunder, right. Or the lesser. Oh my God, what's his name from? Don't worry, I always forget his name. This is great. This is great. This is great
good.
radio.
This is
he gave people dead fish. Dude, I don't know what's going on. My
Shia
brain,
LaBeouf?
no, not Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf was one, but Shia LaBeuf's like.
Oh, you're talking about Jared Leto because
Jared Leto. My God,
happens-
I talk about Jared Leto like every episode, and I forget his name every time. But he's super. He does the meta, but he tries to be method, but he's just an asshole.
we just talked about this last podcast.
Was it really last pod? Was it the last one?
It's because we were talking about Blade Runner and he's in the second one.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, but we didn't really get into the detail that he's like that method. Like,
No, we didn't.
that he
This
does
has
that
come
kind
up
of
once
stupid stuff.
before. I guarantee it, though.
I know. Well, I talk about Jared Leto a lot.
I've said it. I've already said it earlier, but I feel like you didn't get a proper introduction. We're obviously talking about Paul Thomas Anderson's 2007 film, There Will Be Blood. I don't know. A lot of people have seen this. It's fairly popular. It's pretty critically acclaimed. But for those of you who have not or haven't seen it in a while and need a little refresh, I didn't do it. Are you doing the synopsis?
No, it's my turn. Yeah, it's my turn this week.
I never remember. I literally hop on my. I almost forget I'm doing a podcast most days, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. I gotta go sit on my computer.
No, I can tell because you're always late when we come up.
8:00 every time. I told you 8:00 every time.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You always call me at 7:45, and I can't.
I know. I thought it was 7:45 is what we agreed on.
I can't do 7:45 anymore.
Okay, 8:00. Fine, bud.
I have to do 8. Sometimes I can get on. Today I got a little earlier. I got on like 7:50 today.
That's true. Yeah. It was just
it depends.
putzing around.
It depends. My kids, they're fickle.
Well, right. Yeah, I understand. You have human beings to take care of, and just like you, human beings out there in podcast land, let me give you a little refresher on this fantastic film. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's like kind of wild to think if you were even just casually into film, I would imagine this is like come up. This is always in people's like top 10 lists. It is a masterpiece. It's great. I love this movie. So
synopsis over.
Basically, yeah.
You haven't seen it, fucking go watch it then.
Really go watch it, but its beauty lies in its simplicity. Yeah. So There Will Be Blood starts off in the late 1800s. It's like 1898, I believe. And Daniel Plainview is silently chipping away at in the womb of Earth, and he's a prospector trying to get some gold. An accident happens, breaks his leg, but his tenacity and his drive for that sweet Skrilla makes him crawl his way.
That's what they called it back then.
It's Skrilla. It's like, they called it rock Skrilla. Yeah. And then he like crawled his way back with all his jewels, and he gave them to the smiths or whoever the fuck it is, and they make it into silver for him. And he continues his drive and his hunger for wealth, but he transitions into the oil business. And while he's working on an oil rig, one of his partners dies from the most common oil rig accident ever, is just a large piece of metal falling down and just splitting your skull open. Oh, yeah. But anyways, due to the man's death, he leaves behind a young son, some child in a basket, and he takes him, and he scoops him up and he keeps him for himself. And we fast forward into the future 12 years or so, and he's using that kid as like the face of his new business, and that is oil drilling. And so he gets into oil drilling, starts making a ton of money, and we fast forward again, and now this is a larger jump, and his son's an adult, and he is now a rich, aged man, living off of his oil wealth. And he I forgot to mention the whole the other main character. There's only like two main characters in this whole movie, and I missed like the other one. While he's working on a large, I forgot.
You went into detail about the first like 15 minutes, and then like you just breezed over the next 2 hours into the end.
Yeah,
and then his son's an adult. By the way, he's deaf now.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, we get deaf. Yeah. Well, so yeah, basically, let's go backwards here. Let's rewind. So he gets to a main town, and this is where he makes his like first large discovery of oil that gets him like all of his money, and he gets a pipeline, and he's like, this is his main source of like wealth. that comes from this like first one, and if I was better prepared, I'd remember what the name of it is. I can't remember the name of the town, but he gets it. And in this town, there's a preacher, and his name is Eli.
It's Little Boston.
Whatever the hell is it? Yeah, Little Boston. My God, what's his stupid last name? It's Eli Sunday. That's right.
Sunday,
There's the Sunday. It's the Sunday Ranch. That's where he goes originally first to set up, and then he buys property around the Sunday Ranch, and that's where he strikes his oil and he gets it up. Well, Eli Sunday is a preacher, and he is like, he's supposed to be quote unquote the moral compass, but Daniel Plainview does not. He despises him, and
Eli Sunday is terrible.
Oh no!
The
Well, of
worst.
course, but he's like he's the self-righteous, and he thinks that like religion should come first before wealth, but he's super self-centered. So, anyways, he kind of feuds with Daniel, and he wants money from him for his church, and he wants to get him involved in the church, but Daniel uses like his power and influence to just kind of snub him, and that causes like resentment. And now we fast forward again, and he's living in his giant mansion. He tells his son that he doesn't love him anymore, and it's really heartbreaking. And then Eli comes back to visit, and he grovels and begs for money because he, selfishly used the money and exploits of that oil money that came into his town. He used that to go and travel the world.
The Great Depression's looming, and he says,
right.
The economic circumstances.
And he didn't prepare for it.
Daniel Plainview is like basically a dragon just sitting on wealth. Like he doesn't live wealthily.
Totally, dude. That's a good example.
He doesn't live. That's like any billionaire now. But
True.
but it's
Yeah.
like he doesn't live fancy. Like he's a fucking
No, he really doesn't.
pretty basic
it's
guy.
great. Yeah.
For all
Because
he
it-
knows,
yeah,
I feel
it's
like that bowling alley at the end has like been used once actually as a bowling alley. You know what I mean? So when
True.
they got it
Yeah, I mean,
installed, and he's like,
they-
I don't want this.
they-
They just
they find
it was just
him-
in the house. Like
Yeah, and they like his butler is trying to wake him up because he's just there picnicking on the bowling, right in the middle of the bowling alley. But anyways, so Eli and them, they have their final confrontation, and spoiler alert, he beats him to death, and that's the end of it. Daniel Plainview is the victor. Capitalism won.
with seemingly
Take
with
that
seemingly no consequences.
Oh,
'Cause,
no consequences.
Yeah.
His butler comes back down and is like just gonna sweep up the body. I don't know what they're gonna.
Yeah, he's gonna eat him probably. That's what those delicious steaks are.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I know he's just gnawing at that steak. It's wonderful.
This this viewing, I'm curious, how many times have you seen this movie? And then when was the last time you watched it?
That's the thing. I almost think this is my only second time.
Really?
I think I've only seen this once in like 2007, and now, and I think the impact of it, and then it became this movie got memed very heavily. This movie was in the lexicon of pop culture for 10 years after it came out easily. And so it's like, so that whole like I drink your milkshake, I abandoned my boy, these kind of like the large titular scenes in this movie that like from my first viewing I was like I can remember all the scenes, and then they got like memes, so I really like solidified all the scenes to it. And so this time watching it again, I got to like kind of relish in like the smaller details, and then just I was so excited for like that whole like, so this when he has to go, I abandoned my child. That is my favorite scene. So I will spoilers.
Get that out of the way now. Huh?
That's my
It's so
that's my favorite scene. That's his.
okay.
That's like
There's like
that's the most.
'cause
That's the most human.
There's so much big acting, but then there's so much small, subtle
It is.
acting too.
Right.
Just like him getting down on his knee and he's like winces because of the pain, and then it's like Eli's getting to him, just wearing him down, and then he just finally like has the outburst, and it's
but
just to give him what he
so
wants.
many-
You know what I mean? But also it's like, but he feels it. That's the only thing that makes him feel shame, is his relationship with HW. So I don't know, for those of you on the YouTubes, and Jordan, but this right here is a There Will Be Blood poster framed behind me.
You're a fan.
This is easily one of my top 5 favorite movies, and I've watched it well over 30 times.
Yeah, right. So
I've seen it a lot. Well, it's like I saw it when it first came out, and I loved it. And then it's like a year or two later, I like bought the DVD and I watched it again, and I loved it even more. And then me and Chet just watched it like constantly, all the time.
Well, see, I watched,
But
so
I haven't watched
this
it.
movie.
I haven't watched it in like 4 or 5 years though. So it was
Okay.
It was
So
nice.
how
It
did-
was
how did it fare
interesting.
this time?
I remember every single detail. I could walk you through this movie very well, but it's just like I did notice more like subtle performances this time, and had more. I've always loved the score, which is why I picked put this movie on. The score is excellent.
This has been my favorite score out of the 3 we've watched. The
Blade Runner score is great, but it's like this movie's this is like deep and brooding, but also like kind of like experimental especially for like a period piece. It's like super anxiety inducing with like the percussion and everything.
Perfect.
It's
a horror. If you played
it's horrific, dude. It's intense.
Like if you played this, you would just assume this accompanied a horror movie. Like this is like Hereditary status. Like this is exactly
absolutely. And we've talked about this before, where it's like I was watching this movie again, and I was like, this movie's not. I was trying to think like because we talked about. I was like, oh, the only real violent part. Like there's a couple violent parts where the guy died. The 2 different guys die in the hole. And then
those
the
aren't
very
even
end,
violent.
but like I always
it's
remember
an accident and it's tragic, but it's not violent.
I always remembered the most gruesome part is when that dude comes to replace his brother, or like is pretending to be his brother, and then he shoots him in the head and buries him, and there's zero blood. There's like just basically just a tiny 22, but it's just like it is brutal because it's like that's the thing with the music and the atmosphere.
Execution, yeah.
With the music and the atmosphere and the tension of this whole movie. It makes these scenes like seem super, super gnarly, and that's why it's like we talked before. It's like this gets the R rating, but there's like way more PG-13 movies that are like way more violent, and there's no sex or cussing or anything in this. Really, it's just like this movie's just heavy thematically and has the and I think the score really adds to like the horror vibe. Like it is horrific. Like he shoots him and he like lives for a minute, because he's just shot in the brain with a tiny pistol, but. Definitely not to kill you.
I think it's like it's the unflinching reality of it. That is
harsh.
the whole movie. Everybody's just like grown, and like the work and the effort they put into everything. It's like I don't know. I like this because this is probably my favorite Western. If I had to think about it, it's like at least like top 3 favorite Westerns. Because watching it this time, I was like, oh, this is like. Well, I classified it as a frontier movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Less like Western, but dude,
I don't think it has like your typical Western like archetypes necessarily, but definitely is like a good like frontier type. It has like that kind of ambition type. Drive.
I disagree. It's like the main character. He might not. His conflict, like usually in a Western, it's a exterior conflict, and they have to overcome that. And in this, it's an internal conflict.
Yeah.
He has to overcome it. And
I think that's probably why it was hard for you to like kind of like describe the plot, because it's like the plot's super straightforward. Like you said, it's super simple, but to quote, I'm not sure who said it. I think it was like Neil Druckmann, but it's just like simple story, simple plot, complex characters. Like that's what makes a memorable, like really good piece of art. A lot of the times it's like you don't have to have a crazy convoluted story. It's about themes and like these characters, and God, these characters are fucking
right there. That right there is this is a character study to the T.
Above all else, like it's got a lot of big themes and like all this, but above all else, it is a excellent character study of Daniel Pugh.
It's character study, and like the subtext is like rich and dripping, and I think that's why watching this movie, I can't help but think of the other film that came out and was shot right down the street from this movie, No Country for Old Men. I think that's why No Country was more popular, because it had an easier, more action story. Like it was, there's more intrigue.
Like No Country.
But No Country does exactly what this does.
I know, because it is kind of like an anti-Western too, especially how like spoiler for No Country, like Llewellyn dies like 2/3 into the movie.
Yeah, there is no fixed hero.
It's definitely got like a juxtaposition, which it's awesome that, because I was talking about some other movies, how there's every once in a while you get 2 movies that are kind of similar come out the same year. I'm just glad that these two ended up being some of the best movies like of the century so far, easily.
Dude,
Like,
no, easily. Yeah. No, and I love how they came out like the same day, and it's just like they
dude,
came out.
2007 was a bonkers year.
I know
man.
we talked about this before on an older podcast, and like 2007 was everything came out.
I wish
that
I
year,
knew,
dude.
like I knew it was great then, because like we were in high school and like, man, it was. Because I remember when the Academy Awards came around, I talked about this a little bit. I was pissed because No Country I liked, but it was getting all the love over
I know.
this movie, There Will Be Blood, as well as fucking.
We've had this conversation where I was like, I was used to be. I still probably am more
Children
of
of
a
Men.
No Country. Well, Children of Men.
That was
dude.
that
Oh
was
my
the
God.
other one.
And
Zodiac.
Sunshine came
Those
out.
were, yeah, there's a lot. What'd you say?
Sunshine came out, dude. But no, I said I think I like No Country more.
Oh,
And
really?
I think when I saw both of these, I was a Coen Brothers fanboy. I liked PT, but like,
Well, he didn't like. He's done a
PT,
couple
but it's
really
like-
good ones up until this point,
right.
but
right.
this is definitely like a defining point of his career. Because up until then, it's like he kind of has been all over the place, but like in a good way. Because obviously, I really love P.T. Anderson because I fucking loved Boogie Nights. Was obsessed with Boogie Nights in high school. I still fucking love that movie. And Magnolia is pretty solid, but I also love Punch Drunk Love.
And that same Punch Drunk Love
And
was
so, but this movie like was a big change, like tonally, for like more serious type films to follow. But I feel like he kind of stepped away from that a little bit with like, he's kind of all over, man. I don't know. He's in a weird. That's what I like about him too, is because his movies feel like his movies, but it's just like, you know. And then you got something like Inherent Vice, like, which is like pretty laid back.
The funny thing, well, like the movie that my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie is The Master.
Yeah,
And
The
so
Master. But that's what I'm saying. It's like this,
And they're-
The Master, and like Phantom Thread. You know what I mean? They're like
Right.
very serious, very like excellent
Just-
dramas,
they are
like
character
capital
studies.
D,
His character
excellent
studies
character, period piece dramas. You know what I mean? Which is just the big daddies. But I don't know. He just seems chill.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean,
God, now we got to watch the fucking Master. I haven't
I'm
seen
getting
the
lost
Master
in the
in a
woods.
few
Dude.
years.
I got it. Yeah, the Master. So that's the whole thing. It's like that's where it is. Like you can remember his movies are. That's what dude it is. His movies are so simple, but everything he does is so complex and perfect. And like his composition's beautiful. And I wanted to say that
Composition
the
is
score,
on another level.
how the score like just not even elevates but solidifies this movie for what it is. Like if you put any other score with this, it would be hot trash.
It's
It's
perfect for it.
It's perfect. But I was laughing because there's like a really super intense scene when he's just walking, like he's just like walking across a plain in a field. I can't remember. It's like clearly he's going to get to something. There's tension at the end of his walk. You know, there's tension at the end of the scene, but I can't remember what it was. But it was like super brutal. And then I was laughing because I was like, if there was no music to this and he's just walking, it's like kind of ridiculous almost. It's really weird. It's like watching it and thinking about like not having any score to a lot of the action that happens in it. I'm like, it's kind of funny. It's like that, just the scene when he's like, they do a lot of like really super like ultimate close-ups and he's just like thinking and acting, and like if it was just mute, it would feel awkward. It just feel like him just kind of like bobbing his head in front of the camera.
I agree. Like the
Like,
score is, I feel like out
so
of
much
all
tension.
the scores we've watched so far, it's like, you know, Godfather's score was great. It's very indicative to like that world, but sure, you know. And then Blade Runner, it's like you really need it to like show the like kind of sci-fi noir beauty of the landscape, but other than that, and it's like this movie, yeah, you're right. I feel like it could not exist without the score, Johnny Greenwood's score that goes along with it, because it's just like every scene.
What else has he done?
He's done a lot of other Paul Thomas Anderson stuff after. Like he also did The Master and Phantom Thread. He did.
Cool.
God, what? I was listening to his shit the other day, but I don't know. He's really good. He did another movie that was like nominated, like last year or something, and I was like, dude, that's my guy. But I don't know. It's
But yeah,
I remember this was one of the first scores. Like I get in moods. I don't listen to like a lot of scores, but I remember this being one of the first ones where it's like I straight up back in 2007 days, I straight up rented this on CD, the soundtrack from the library, and just ripped it to my computer and my family's computer. It was like one of the first scores that I was just like, I can just listen to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I don't know this movie.
Everything about it is so good.
He's in Radiohead.
Well, you know what's cool? Oh yeah, no, dude. And that Paul Thomas Anderson's done a lot. He's involved in a lot of Radiohead. He's done like, you know, those what are those called? Like video tour documentaries and stuff.
Oh, he did I remember the one from last year. Sorry, I didn't remember. I looked it up, but it was Power of the Dog, which the score for Power of the Dog was dope.
The score definitely.
He also did the score for Spencer, which was that Kristen Stewart, Princess Diana fictional biopic.
Oh right,
which
right. So
that movie was solid, but the score was the best part about it for sure.
Yeah, dude,
so
I love like that. To talk about this movie, it's like you can go on forever because it's like how they used like an old like 1800s camera, or I think early 1900s. Film camera that fucking Paul Thomas Anderson owns, and like they like restored it and made it work for this movie. So like that scene when like the fire's going and it's like super concaved, you know, around and like
I noticed that like
silhouetted.
there's like the rounded one and then the squared one, which you could tell is the reflections off the map box. Yeah, that's what it looks like, you know.
Well, it's the camera it's like his camera that he has. So it's like what they go into and like how they like shooting on the low light and everything, and like they shot in a bunch of different like 70 and 35 and stuff, and so it's like it is
his movie.
It is a masterpiece.
It is.
It works so well. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, with the film of this, like his movies have such a like a very old school kind of feel to them visually, because it's like it must be the film he uses or the cameras, like a combination, obviously, with the cinematography. But like, there is such like an old, like soft, grainy look to this movie and all his movies that kind of like, and most, obviously a lot of them are period pieces, of course, but it's like something about that really captures, like, I don't know, cinematography. There's like literally, that's why I'm like, this movie is a masterpiece, because it's like I can't find an aspect of it that I don't think is done to near perfection, like as good as. In that, like from a technical standpoint, or how it made me feel, like it's super intense, and it's like on paper this sounds super boring. It's literally a fucking period piece about an oil magnate just kind of like coming up and just going into the town. Like, I feel like someone could have taken the script. Like, obviously PTA wrote it, and that's also why he's probably one of my favorite directors, is because he's also his own writer.
Well, and he adapted it from that Upton Sinclair.
So loosely, though. You know what I mean? It's just based on the history of the time, you know? But, like...
Yeah, really, yeah.
It's like Upton Sinclair didn't invent Daniel Plainview and his struggle.
No.
Like, it's like Paul Thomas Anderson invented that character.
In Upton Sinclair's book, Oil, it's like... It's more like it's more talks about, like, the deposition and everything, because it's like the Teapot Dome scandal or whatever, something about... Whatever, I don't know early American history, whatever. It's like, you know.
Yeah, this is a history podcast about the early 1900s
oil magnates that were like going around and like basically like the illegal shit that happened and all that stuff. But anyways, it's like the book's like dry as hell, and so like you would think this film, like it does sound like the driest, most like boring ass thing ever. And it's like the whole time, and I think it really is the score, but like, I mean, everything.
Well, everything works together to make a sum greater than its parts.
I was watching it with Victoria, and the scene when he's with his like his fake estranged. Oh my god, estranged. What is that word? Estranged brother who comes back, and I feel. Dude, he's such a tragic character, because like you really genuinely can tell that he's not there to screw him over.
No, he's just
there to make a quick buck and to live kind of an easier life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like he's kind of just taking advantage of him, but not maliciously.
The whole scene, it's just like he's just kind of a leech on society, you know.
Sure. But I think he's just taking advantage of an opportunity, because he knew his brother. It's almost kind of like he is his brother, because he's like, he's like, Daniel, I'm your friend. I'm not,
This is the 19 teens, you know what I mean? Like, this is over 100 years ago. Like,
Right, and I love how he's
That
like,
was
even then,
more
he's
how it was, too. Like people had to
for sure,
be a little
it
more
was
desperate.
easier.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, or just I think it's just it's just easier to like. It's like I don't know. I sympathize because he like wanted. He's like, I'll work. I want to work hard. I don't want to. He's like, I don't
He's
want.
like,
You to
I
just
don't
give
need
me
any
money.
handouts. He just wants to
Right.
get close to him. But it's like,
But I
he-
think what's beautiful about the movie is like when they're having fun and he's drunk and he's kind of acting like a fool and he's asking for money.
terrifying.
I think-
though,
I
like
think
it's that's like the horror, like
Yeah.
where it's like Daniel Plainview is a fucking monster just there at the corner of like the brothel or whatever at the bar.
Oh yeah,
just like
he's
staring
like, I only
daggers into him.
Yeah, he's like, I only have fun when I'm striking oil. Like that's like literally it. Like he's just like,
The
this
few
isn't fun for me.
times, well, it's because he allowed himself to feel vulnerable. That's his one thing. Because it's like he's fucking got, he's ice cold in his veins. He's very much like he has the one moment he was vulnerable, which kind of sums up his character in general. He's hammered, which he always is. But he's talking to Henry and he's like, I want no one else to succeed. I have a competition. Like he's just this ultimate, like he's this crazy capitalist, but it's from a place of hatred and like misanthrope. Like he's just such a hardcore misanthrope that he just like despises everyone in society. And he's like, oh, here's someone I can connect with, like my true blood brother,
Right.
And so
Well, I
the
was gonna
second
say-
he realizes it, it's like he's so betrayed and he was so vulnerable that he just fucking murders him in cold blood. And it's so brutal, but it's just like, of course, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that goes.
and he's
it
a
goes to say
hardworking
that
dude,
that's-
man. He dug that grave, and that is a fucking fine grave.
Yeah,
that is that isn't
It
no
was
shallow
soupy,
grave.
too.
That was a big.
It was
It was a little soupy, yeah.
It was soupy though. I like that, and I loved like just drainage and steepage.
Well, it's
They
because
talk about-
that's the thing. It's like he dug the grave. It's 1912 or whatever. He didn't need to dig the grave that deep, but he dug that grave so fucking deep that the groundwater, it was full of groundwater. Like it's just like
I know, bud. You're proud of his. You're proud of his grave.
I
He dug it.
am. Well, he
He dug a very deep grave. It was very neat and square.
It was very square.
Which, if you've ever dug a hole, it's
That's
not
so
that
hard.
easy to
It's so
do.
hard.
Yeah, to dig by hand.
Jordan's dug a lot of graves, and
I've
it's
dug-
just like,
dude,
but he's
you know
lazy.
How many holes I've
He's
had
lazy.
to dig in my life? So many holes, dude.
Dug a
Oh my
fair
god,
amount.
dude. To dig a 6-foot hole by yourself, dude. I did a 4-foot hole once. Dug that by myself. It took me the entire day, and I was broken afterwards, dude. It was that's a brutal work.
I know.
But
I tried to see
anyways,
how
he did
deep of a hole I could dig, but I had just a post hole digger and a shovel. Just one time up at my dad's house. I got pretty deep, but man, it was exhausting. And it was just a pit, though. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'd have
dig
to chop a
square.
body up and throw it in there
Yeah.
because it was just a gross pit.
Well, there's
but,
roots, dude. It's not. Yeah,
it's-
there's no.
But
he was,
my
he's doing my good
point,
stuff.
sir, is that simple thing, it says so much about his character and about like he is. It's kind of scary because he's the capitalist, capital the of the 20th century. But it's just like because he comes from these hardworking roots, you know what I mean? He's not afraid to get down there with his guys, and he
Right.
started from nothing.
Well, that's the whole.
But
That's
part of what
what's
makes
great.
him. That's part of what makes him scary, but like also interesting.
That's the allegory of it, though. This is like trying to perpetuate the quote unquote American dream.
Yeah.
Well, the
Well,
white American dream.
same
where
goes
it's like
with
you work hard and now he
religion.
gets the money.
Well, that's
Right,
what
and same with religion.
exactly. But it shows that how miserable it is. But it's like these two institutions are what this country was basically, especially what the 1900s were all about. Religion and capitalism and like hard work gets you money. Like that's what the 1900s were about. But this shows you that both guys were fucking giant con artists at the end of the day and only involved in their own self-interests, which nothing has changed with religion or capitalism. Hot take, but it's I don't know, man. Like I keep thinking about the quote, weirdly enough, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Frank Reynolds is like trying to get everyone to buy guns. And he's like, oh, there's two people in the world. There's dupers and dupees. You guys are the dupees. I'm the duper. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how it is. These guys they see opportunities and they manipulate people for their own gain and they move up in status in the world and it just keeps like perpetually growing. And there are these two dupers in a sea of dupees that they can just fucking play and it's like just comes naturally to them, I don't know. It's sad.
Well, yeah,
in
in the end, when that's the whole thing. I was like, Daniel Plainview actually, as he exists from from scene 1 all the way up until the last scene of the movie, he kind of exists as an anti-hero. Like, before he commits actual blatant murder, like, I consider, like, the murder that he committed, it's clearly, it's like he did it by himself to a drifter. So it almost kind of like, I mean, this is a little macabre, but it almost doesn't count. Like,
it's okay to kill drifters. They're not real people.
I mean, that's what I'm getting at. But in his in his mind, he's killing somebody who he's doing it clearly because it was, he was duped, and he can't let that get by him. No. But it's like he's killing something that doesn't really exist right now, and it like, I don't know. I mean, he's an evil person. I'm trying to make a case for him being
even when he kills Eli at the end, it's like he does it because it's like he has such this rage and such this hatred.
That's what I was going to say.
It comes out in these bursts of extreme violence, right. But they're so pointed. It's like, they didn't happen for no reason, but it's just like, it's not like he was finding someone to take it out on necessarily. It's just like these people, like, he's hated Eli for so long and he just needed his opportunity. He relished in it and lost his fucking mind killing Eli at the end. But like with his, Henry or whatever his name is, he's like, it's that vulnerability. That's the only thing that gets to him. Like his son with HW
is that his son. So
that's his one emotional core is his son. And so that by the end, that's burned. And that's why he fucking goes psycho and kills Eli.
The only time that he is truly the most sympathetic is when he finds his brother's diary. And he's leafing through it, and he cries, and it's like it is there because he feels alone. There's no more connection for him except material good.
He's got that anguish. He's just so drunk that it's like that's the only time he can let that, like, he keeps it pent up, and he has this face on all day. You know what I mean? Because constantly he's trying to be likable. He's like,
that's what I think. Well, yeah.
He's like, I like everything. Too, dude. Everything's great, and hey, family. I'm just a simple family.
What I love when he lets twinges of it out with the other oil magnates, like when he's with him and he's like, I'll find you in your home and I will slit your throat. Like the guy was like,
and it's
whoa,
because,
I didn't want to offend
he
you.
Insinuated some shit about his family, which would be one thing, but he did that's the only thing he feels guilt about is about his situation with HW, because it's like, even though he's not his own blood, which he has that always, and he is using HW fully to try and like further his own status because he's kind of a sociopath, but there's like that nugget of like heart at the beginning. Oh, hey Pele. There's that nugget of heart with his son that he's had moments, and he has a bond with this kid no matter what, and then so it's just like at the end his last bit of humanity is just gone because he can't let go of his own hatred. He's just like tells his son, he's like, oh, you're a competitor, you've been building up your hate for me, and he's like, no, it's not that. He's like, you're a fucking bastard, but yeah, it's but that's the only thing that gets to him. That's why he fucking loses it on those Standard Oil guys, and it's like, I'll fucking find where you sleep and I'll come into your house and slit your throat at night. And he's like, why are you saying this? Like, what? He said, I just said you can be a millionaire and take care of your kid. He's like, then what else would I do? Which is
and that's the core of it, where it's like,
it's the core
family.
Of like,
family isn't enough like that, and that's what's kind of fun with religion is they're trying to be like, oh, you need to be like domestic. They want him to like join the church and like kind of cultivate that like community around there, and he's too greedy, dude. He's got to eat up that money, man. He needs to follow that vein, baby.
It's weird because it's such that deep greed. Like, he doesn't even need it. I don't know. And it's because it's his hatred. He wants to take all the money and all the oil because he doesn't want anyone else to have it. Like, that is. It's
dude, him being a dragon is like the perfect.
He's a fucking dragon, dude. Like, on his pile of gold.
He has his wealth and like doesn't want anyone else to prosper. Which I guess he does. It's like, I think it's collateral damage, but like people have to prosper from him because he needs people to come in and help. He's like, I have contractors that help me. So it's almost one of those things. That's where he is a complex character.
Yeah, he's a necessary evil, unfortunately, for what our society has become. Like,
right, for what we deemed valuable.
Like,
and what
obviously, we
used.
should just eat the billionaires, but it's like
Well, right.
a
you
lot
can't-
of
there's no-
people back
there's
then,
no-
especially relied on
we're-
them. You know,
we can look at this as the perfect template for the term "there is no ethical billionaire."
no,
They don't exist.
They don't
You can't be a billionaire and show any empathy or any care or
no.
basically drive any good to society as a billionaire.
Fuck them. Unless you're a billionaire
and
listening to this, I'll.
Then we'll take-
we're
yeah.
prostitutes, and so
We'll
we like
all
you.
your money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're really great. If you're watching this, just send in some pics, baby. Send in whatever
send
you
them
want.
in.
Send us your favorite movies of 2022.
I could sit here and I can gush about so many aspects of this movie. I can gush about Daniel Day-Lewis, who is like one of the best actors of his generation. But
well, it's funny. Can I actually gush? I like
About
Paul
Paul Dano.
Dano more. I liked Paul Dano more, and Paul Dano's better because Paul Dano came in like a week before they were already shooting, and then he came in a week before they started shooting, and he is just as good as Daniel Day-Lewis.
oh,
Daniel Day-Lewis
he
spent 3 years.
He
do
more
it.
than holds his
So-
own.
So
Which
I'm gonna, yeah.
I fell in love. Like I'm rooting
know.
for Paul Dano, man, because
Paul Dano is so dope, dude. Even in Joker or what his fucking whatever he's called, question
Batman,
mark.
he's
What's his name?
the question mark man,
the Riddler, yeah,
Mr. Question Mark,
yeah,
the famous
Mr.
Batman villain, Mr. Question Mark.
Yeah. So Paul
no,
Dano in that was
I
fine,
love him
but
in everything he does, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm glad he's still just rocking it because it's like
yeah,
I remember seeing him in Little Miss Sunshine, which is the first thing I saw him in,
That's-
and most people.
me too.
I don't know if that's his
Or at least
first role, but it's one of
the
his
first I
roles.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably.
And then it's like, and then I saw this, and I'm like, this guy is what's up,
Yeah.
and everything since then. And then I just watched the fucking Fablemans the other day, and I'm like, God, Paul Dano, man, he's still keeping it up.
He was great in that. I didn't like that movie, but he was great in that.
He still looks 15 though. You know what I mean?
I know he does. He's got the baby face. Dude, if you listen to his music, he has a band called Mook, like Mook,
No.
and it's pretty dope. Yeah,
Hey.
it's pretty good, man. It's kind of post-punky.
We're gonna have to save this for the ramble, but you didn't like the Fablemans? Get the fuck out of here!
No,
Oh
didn't
my
like
god,
it.
you fucking hipster.
Yeah,
Anyway, we're gonna talk. This is coming back in the
I know.
the ramble
Well,
we're doing after this.
everybody, if you go to Patreon/Coldest Window Knowledge, you can listen to the ramble episode where I tear down Fableman's I rip it a new one, and I talk about how fucking lackluster it is.
Oh my god, you
so-
fucking.
I hate Spielberg, so we're
I
here.
know, but it's his best movie in like 20 years. Anyway,
Yeah, I can give you that. Sure, I can agree to that. Can I tell you a cute factoid before you go
give me
on
a
real quick?
factoid. I'm pulling up Reddit. So yeah.
So everybody in the world, they know the factoid where it's like No Country for Old Men had to stop filming because the fire scene that they did with the oil gushing out and it catches on fire, that was shot in the background of No Country. And that's a great factoid. I love it. It's beautiful. If you didn't know it, now you do. It's a fantastic factoid. It's really cool. My favorite factoid about this movie is every Wednesday on set, they would eat nothing but steak and liquor. just to be like part in that mindset. Like
I'm gonna have
do
a
it on
steak
set
and
too a lot
liquor
and stuff.
Wednesdays, man. I'm into that.
I know, yeah. Everyone just straight up steak and liquor. It's so good.
That's hilarious.
I like that. That's a cute one.
That is a fun factoid.
But I can give you the budget too if you want.
Yeah,
money minute.
Give me that money minute while we're
It's
thinking about it.
It's a solid production here. It was 25 mil to make.
That's less than I thought.
Yeah.
I was gonna guess like closer to 40.
Like 40. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was 40. When I saw 25, I was like, oh, okay. But I get it
That's
because
still,
if
like,
you dude, break
still
it down.
enough, but
break it down in your head. There's only like maybe, I mean, they probably took like a month to shoot the oil scene, and then the rest of it is just in fucking like wood shacks and shit. Like it's
No, it really is.
It's super low production value. Like production like needed. Like it doesn't, it's not a huge. It's not like they're building like a fucking sweeping city or something wild.
Which is wild that it's just
yeah.
like that's why I think also
I know, dude.
what makes me love this movie so much is it's like it has these big bombastic scenes and it has a lot of quiet scenes, but it's like this movie does not it's so good
takes place
without
on the plains,
being
dude. Yeah.
without being this huge spectacle that every movie feels like it has to fucking be nowadays.
Like, it's not a Maverick Top Gun that's
yeah, don't even,
right.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, don't even worry. I really did it when I didn't look. Anyways, we'll talk about that in a minute.
We will in a minute.
Anyways, I wanted to say $25 million budget. It boxed 76.1
Okay.
mil. So
it was popular.
Totally. Yeah, and it's Paul Thomas Anderson's highest grossing film. It'll probably be his highest grossing film ever and forever.
Yeah,
So,
I was just saying because like he's got a style, you know what I mean? He makes the movies he wants to make. You know
well, and I just think this was the perfect storm where it's like No Country came out and that was everyone in the early 2000s was like, I don't know, looking for like a solid neo western, and this is kind of what we got.
That is true. Yeah, that was the kind of the back rise of that type of western for sure. Is the up to the 2010 westerns, you know, they all have like a feel, which I do appreciate. So I got a couple Reddits if you can handle it.
Love it.
Let's see. So Muses with Wine says, I'd place it as a modern classic. Seems it's portraying the battle of influence between capitalism versus religion, then showing capitalism wins and even influences religion as proof. Meanwhile, of course, capitalism, even when winning, doesn't make one happy necessarily. Outstanding performances and a message worth telling and especially hearing. That's a good point. What about like capitalism, like religion as it exists today, especially needs like they're married. They're married together. Right. You know what I mean? It's like it's a twisted, mutated beast. It is. We're big fans of both capitalism and religion around here, obviously.
And religion, yeah, exactly. Especially mega church religion. That's my
favorite one.
The ones that make that.
I know. I was watching this with my wife, and he's like,
capitalism.
He's like, "Get out of here, ghost! Get out!"
Yeah.
And he's like screaming, and I'm like, "This still happens all the time." Like,
oh no, but I was laughing. I was saying earlier when I was watching this with Victoria. There's this scene where he's in the water. You know, and he's like floating, yeah. And Victoria's like, what is this? So boring. I'm like, yeah. It's amazing. It's perfect.
I'm like literally on the edge of my seat.
Like, me too. Like when he's sitting there and he's like, the peach tree dance, and I'm like, oh,
that's so good. Because he's having a moment of like, he's letting it go for a moment. I can feel it melting off his back, and then like when he realizes the look on his face when he's just like. He doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
What did he say? What is it too? Like, what's the house on on top of the whatever?
He's like, what's the name of the farm next to the Hill House?
Neil Hill House.
Like,
farm.
I don't remember. And he's like, who are you?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, that's so good.
But the look. I don't know. There's so many good moments of just acting and that not only Daniel Day-Lewis but Paul Thomas Anderson. Not only just getting the performances, but like you mentioned briefly earlier, the blocking in this movie is masterclass. Like, so many scenes start with like a person coming into a scene, like being apprehensive. Like there's like kind of long takes with like we talk. That's why I think this has an old school feel to it as well, is because we talked about this when we did Jaws, where it's like they don't really do that anymore. Where they have like 5 setups in a scene and it's one camera. Now it's a 3 shot, and then they walk over here, and now it's like a 2 shot and a wide shot. And it's like this movie does that a lot, where it's like it'll be one camera and it'll follow the person, you know, it'll start here and then it'll go over here and it's a totally different shot. Then it'll go over here, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's just kind of like, I don't know, it lets it breathe a little bit more. Like, I don't know, people are too reliant, like, you know, I'd love a good editing, like a good Edgar Wright or something, but it's like something about it lets it feel like breathe and feel like more naturalistic. Edgar Wright and
wouldn't fit this kind of theme. Like,
can you imagine Edgar Wright making his version of There Will Be Blood?
That'd be pretty fun. Dude.
I would absolutely watch that. But
I was thinking that the other day. I'm like, I wish that movies would get adapted more by solid directors. Like, that would be so cool. It's that like a movie. Great. Somebody just makes like 3 different movies. I wonder if that's ever been done. I don't think so.
That would be a fun idea where it's like they all take like the same outline and then they all make a movie like just like that would be fun. Anyway, so I got a couple more Reddits and then we'll get on with it. So
we got Travis too.
Hey, Travis in that. So Teifu says, I love this movie and especially love its film score. I'll never forget the chaotic percussion mixed with rattles and other objects weirdly coming together for the oil explosion scene. A lot of people like to say it's capitalism versus religion, but even on a personal level with Daniel Plainfield, he craved the normalcy of having a family and love. So much that it almost overtook him until the pursuit of power and money persevered when the oil exploded. He made a decision when he left his son in care of someone else while he first started becoming deaf. He chased after what became more important, the oil. Well said. And one more.
He did chase that oil.
He did. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he has that core, and you watch him deteriorate. Like early on, it's like he's someone you can root for. You know, he's like, like
he's very complex. He wanted to. He's like
saving. Yeah, he's like saving the kid
Daniel
who's
Day-Lewis
an orphan
because he wanted to be all aspects of human.
Yeah.
All aspects of like the human spectrum.
Yeah.
So.
But by the end, he's like a total like he's you know the one ounce of love in his life. His son, he's turned his back on him, and that is why. When he relishes in torturing, essentially, like psychologically, and then just straight up murdering Eli when he shows up at the end, because it's like he just relishes it. Like the fact where he makes him stand up, he's like, "I want you to stand up like this is your congregation."
So
you know,
good.
they can't hear you in the back, Eli. You know, God, I am a false prophet, and God is a superstition, and even Paul Dano's so good at doing that. Anyway.
Paul Dano's good. Well, dude, I love the scene with his older son when he's like doing that. It's like it does boil down to like he says like you're my competition now. Like it totally like the I think he's still like,
which is insane because it's like he doesn't have like he's a fucking multimillionaire in the fucking the late 20s. Like
it was like 27.
He's fine. You know what I mean? It's like
right. I think
but it's just like this cutthroat. Man, like,
and I think his heart's kind of broken because it's like he wanted to like lift his son up and make him like work together. He basically wanted to like whatever.
I know. I'm interested. HW does say during that scene like we've disagreed a lot over the years, but I've always loved you and everything. Which I think HW is also just a great character as well in his development. But it's like I'm interested those like almost 20 years that happen in between. The main part of the story, and then the end, like all them working together. Like I'm interested what that dynamic would have eventually become as HW got older. And it kind of hints at it a little bit where it was like there was turmoil, but it's like we've always been close. So I think this like Daniel, he sees it as a betrayal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like it's not what it is, but and that's why his old nemesis coming back. It's just so funny where it's like. Eli's like, we're friends, Daniel. We're old friends, and it's like, did you not get that? I've always hated you. Like,
right.
I thought we hated each other. I thought this was like an unsaid mutual thing. Like, but that he thinks that about everyone. There's no one he likes really. It's like his right hand man is like the only person he respects.
I think Eli feels entitled because he like let him, work on his land. Like let him. He basically feels like he was there part of it, but yet he was being used and manipulated.
Oh yeah. Well, and the fact that it's just like he signed the contract that he's like, I'll get $5,000 bonus on the signing contract for my church, and then Daniel just never gives it to him, which again,
I know
rings true today still. But like, and then but then Eli has the balls to show up and be like, I want $100,000 for this contract plus interest on the $5,000 you owe me. And it's just like, get out of here, little bitch. And he's like, sure, yeah, that sounds great. We can start drilling tomorrow. Let's do it. Just kidding. Anyway, I got one more. So Clones Are People 2 says, I watched this last night for the first time in about 3 years, and it just reaffirms that this is one of my favorite films of all time. In my opinion, this is the greatest film of the 21st century so far. So rich in visuals and deep in symbolism. I understand this is a film about capitalism, religion, and the transition from one America to another. For me, I view this more as of a character piece and the battle between good and evil in Daniel as he makes his way from ordinary man to oil baron. HW represents good, he is pure and innocent, and he brings out love and kindness in Daniel. Eli represents evil, he's self-serving, a fraud, and a charlatan. Daniel does a deal with the devil. I know that it's Eli's brother, but the devil is a trickster, so I'm running with it. Daniel's
cool.
I like that. Daniel's deal with the devil ultimately brings him reward, but at the same time destroys his relationship with his son. His hatred is then validated further when he realizes his newfound brother, in quotes, had been lying to him. Eventually, Daniel completely destroys his relationship with his son, but then it is revealed that he has gotten the better of evil. Only now it's too late, and he has destroyed himself in the process. He is finished. Good comment.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
That's a good
thank
comment.
you. I like him being a trickster.
I like the deal with the double because it's
idea-
like, yeah,
I
the fact
like
that
the
they're
idea
like
that
the
like
twins. Yeah.
Paul and Eli are the same person.
Yeah,
And
well,
so
Mary
it's
was
just like,
asking that
you
too
know?
while we were watching it because it was like she was like, "Is that the same guy?" I'm like, "No, they're twins," but I know in real life, Paul Dano filmed the other scene and then he came in and they're like, "Come be Eli too," you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like last minute, but it totally kind of it works for that vibe. You know what I mean? I really enjoy it. So you said, what'd you say your favorite scene was? And then we'll do Travis's. You said it was the.
It's the I've abandoned my child.
Oh yeah, I abandoned my boy.
And then, it's because Eli tells him to say I've abandoned my child, and and he's supposed
Several
to do it.
times too,
and he says it like I abandoned my child, and then like
I am a
the
sinner.
time that he breaks, the time that he truly breaks from the like charade of being of just
Like,
of going
okay.
along with it, so he can get the Bundy track.
Mm-hmm.
It's when he's like I abandoned my boy, like he changes the wording. And it's like the only time he changes the wording, and then he's just like broken, and you're like, oh yeah. But then he's like, get on with it. Oh, and he like kind of smiles and like laughing after like he gets baptized. Dude, it's so good. Dude, I love that. I love that
scene
scene
is
so much.
excellent.
I mean, it's hard to pick like a true favorite. And
It's
there's
hard
so
to
many
pick.
beautiful.
I think the
Epic
scene
scenes.
of the oil derrick blowing up, and then with HW losing his hearing, and Daniel like grabs him and runs to the shack, and it's like got the crazy like percussions through that whole scene until he like blows it up.
I wanted to comment.
Some of the most insane and one of the best scenes in film history. Like it's like if I ever had a film class, I would show that fucking scene because it is so good.
Yeah. Well, I would say the music. Sorry to interrupt.
The
but
music,
I'm gonna get this
the
out.
music though, that's the best.
So
the build.
but the thing is, I like as I was watching this, I realized that like it would do a lot of. It was almost practical. It's almost like he took noises from the set and composed to them.
Yeah, I feel like
there
he
are
was
times
like
when they're on the
banging-
train.
Yeah,
when he's on the train track and it's like the music's kind of like.
it does have that
and then,
vibe, like a work,
it does-
like
and,
a
like-
working kind
and
of vibe.
There's like times where it's like the pacing goes with like the oil rig that's like going like
It does.
and it'd be like whenever the music comes in, it's beautiful. Those strings come in and just like
So good.
rip you apart, baby.
There's
All
so
right, you
many
got Travis?
there's so many scenes I like this. I don't know. That face, I'll never and then I got Travis, but like I already said it, but like I've never seen a depiction of just pure rage on anyone's face is that when it cuts back because it's like his brother Henry's like pleading for his life and they just woke up.
Dude, and it's
And then
him
it
like
cuts to
with
him,
the red
and it
He's
cuts
just
him
like,
with the fire like
campfire,
he's literally
campfire.
I've never seen someone look that fucking like blind rage. Like he's literally got like borderline a twitch in his eye, and he's just like, and then he just grabs him and shoots him in the dome. I remember seeing that and being like, he's horrifying. Like he's horrifying. Like just like it's just I don't know. Anyway, so I got this voicemail. You ready? Hopefully you can hear it, but I doubt it. But it looks like you already read it. So let's
Try it out.
Hey guys, just finished watching the masterpiece There Will Be Blood. And in my opinion, this film is as close to perfection as anything else. I mean, from the historical importance of oil in our country's history and culture, to the contrast between religion and industry in making decisions. Then there's the flawless acting. Daniel Day-Lewis deserves all the credit he's been awarded for the role of Daniel Plainville. Starting in an underdog role as a determined hard worker trying to make his fortune, one which is easy to cheer for, into a monster oil man that puts greed and competition over everything else. The only aspect of the film that I questioned was how when Pastor Eli came back to visit Plainville, he hadn't aged at all, whereas everyone else we saw had, and in the case of HW, aged a lot. So my question for you two is, did seeing a non-aged Pastor Eli strike you at all as odd, or was there something else that struck you as off in the film? And P.S., you guys have set the bar real high with this one for 2023. Can't wait to see what else is coming. Thanks.
wait till you hear our next movie.
Well, we've been doing, dude. No, we've been fucking like.
This has been a good roll.
It's been a really good year,
This
man.
has been like so far. This last three movies have been like banger after banger so far. So
Yeah.
But it has to end sometime.
I love that, Travis. That's great. It like totally.
Thank you, Travis. I missed your input, man.
I know, dude. Yeah, it's great to have you back. I never realized that he really doesn't. I understand it's like Paul Dano clearly doesn't. He's not an aged man, but they didn't. It's like Daniel Day-Lewis was makeuped heavily, and so it's like the
I don't
fact
know.
that
I
like
feel like he just actually just made himself age a
He just
little bit,
made
like just
himself age, yeah.
and they're just like forced
Yeah.
out the gray hairs,
yeah, probably.
I think
But
he was
he just,
makeuped earlier on, like to like have his hair be darker, and then like they just kind of like let it go because it's like obviously like lighter and haggard.
and
A lot of it's
bald.
acting because if you look at Daniel Day-Lewis, it's like he doesn't look that much older, but the way he carries himself,
Yeah, well, of course.
way older. But
I understand, but he clearly was makeup, and Paul Dano was like kept to pretty boy. He looks cleaner.
He always
that-
does, but I somewhat disagree. I understand your point because it does. I mean, the fact that it's like almost 20 years is a little suspect, but it's like if you think about like picture it in your head right now, the scene at the end, and then the scene when you first meet him when they first come on the farm hunting for quail, like that boy they meet at the beginning, that kid is like 16. Like he is young, like he is 18 at the most, and then in this one it's like, he's a good looking 30. Like, you know what I mean? Like
True.
he's a solid,
he's a healthy
he's
30,
a healthy 30, and he's been living well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad
but
they
I
didn't
think
like
it's-
give him
I think
makeup.
it's-
I wish they would
No,
have
but that's the thing.
I wish they would have paunched him up a little bit.
Well, no,
I think that would have been the way to do it.
was
Like fatten
deliberate.
him up, fat, rich, fake pastor. Like that's what I would have wanted.
Right.
Give him a little gut.
Well, I think it's like they changed his outside, but they couldn't like they changed his like physical clothing, and like he looks clean and like his hair is perfect and like he looks put together, but like I don't know, I like him not aging. It almost adds more to that mythos.
Like mythical, like he almost
that
has
he is
like
the devil, like that he is a trickster or some sort of double crosser, and he has to get vanquished at the end. Right. So I still stand by Daniel Plainview being the the protagonist. And he's now he destroyed the trickster demon.
I know, it's like he did it. Everything he did was in the service, of
yeah,
good.
it was right. Yeah. Yeah.
He killed that other guy because he was, just a welfare slug.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it's sad because I feel like some people would watch this movie and would think that, unfortunately. They're like, dude,
Daniel
Daniel Plainview's who I want to be when I grow up. Look at him.
we're still in this cap. I mean, this is exactly what it is.
That's
People
what I'm
are
saying.
still waiting to hit
Things
to
don't
strike
change,
oil,
man.
like,
I think that's what
no.
this movie's so.
I know
it's
that's
such
right.
a chord.
It's
Like it really things don't change, man. And I try to pitch this movie to people who've never seen it, and I literally always have to be like, it's better than it sounds. It sounds like I'm like it's about a guy who becomes an oil magnate in the early 1900s. Trust me, it's cool. Wait, where are you going? Please come back. I promise it's good. Anyway,
I promise.
If you like this, go watch The Master.
Well, I'm going to tell you, The Master's
that's
great. I think if you
Or
like
No
this, you need to go watch. Oh, did I not write it down? Oh shit! I just looked it up.
He's got his notes out and everything.
No, I didn't write it down because I just put it on my letterbox. So here, give me 20 seconds and let me get it up here. But there's a movie. So Paul Thomas Anderson, he's a goofball. He's a cray cray. He's pretty intense when he makes movies, and he loves cinema. I think that he is smarter in cinema than Quentin Tarantino. He's just not as vocal because Quentin Tarantino loves to hear himself speak.
More humble. In my opinion, he's the better, more humble version of Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, exactly, 100%. But the movie that he watched every single day while he was writing this was The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Oh, okay.
That is a movie. Yeah, and so I put it on my watch list. That if you like this, go watch this, as we should, and do that for the bonus.
I almost put that on a poll. I've never seen it though, but I've heard. What poll did I put it on?
But that was the one. That was the one that he wanted to. He watched every time. Every day. So
nice.
Yeah, that's my suggestion. You guys have been swell. Thanks for sticking around. I'm gonna give you a little.
I almost put this in the Western month. Anyway, I did.
Oh, really? Okay.
I almost put it on a Western poll, and I didn't.
Maybe we should watch it for a bonus episode.
All right.
Everybody out there in podcast land, I love you, and I wish that you would call in like Travis does, so we could hear more wonderful voices. And then it'd be fun if we just had people call in. We could do a whole episode where we're answering questions. But anyhow, we're going to tell you a phone number right now. If you dial 801-613-1501, you'll be able to leave a message, and we'll love to hear from you.
Do it.
Visit our Patreon and
check it out.
Hit us up everywhere, baby.
I guess I better pull it up. So we're moving on to the best movies of 2022.
Next month is, what is that? July,
we're just
February.
February. We're just doing the best movies of the year, kind of like a wrap up. I was hoping by February most of them have been able to be seen, but unfortunately, some of them still have not. But maybe
we'll make it work.
So what barely won, and it was close, and this is probably unfortunate, but I have to watch it anyway. But it's Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick won. It did.
What was it? What was it against? There was one that was really close.
All
right?
Quiet on the Western Front was close.
Oh, dang!
I've heard Top Gun Maverick's better, but I know. Here's the thing.
Here we go. Watch
don't
Top Gun,
give a fuck. But
dude, okay, we have to watch this, and we need to critically come at it, and we need to we'll talk about what we like. Maybe we'll be surprised.
I have to see it, so we're going to talk about it probably a little bit more in the ramble. So go check that out on our Patreon. But they just announced the Oscars today, and all these movies but Nope are nominated for Best Picture. So I have to watch them all anyway.
Can you believe that? Nope didn't get nominated for anything.
I am heartbroken it didn't at least get cinematography, man. Like that movie was beautiful.
Yeah, I was thinking visual effects, dude.
Anything.
It's like
that movie was awesome. One of the best movies of the year.
Striking.
But so I have to watch Top Gun Maverick and All Quiet on the Western Front anyway. So I guess Top Gun Maverick it is. I was hoping to see it in theaters if I had to watch it at all.
I know, right?
I guess we'll watch it and we'll get back to you next week. I just I remember back in like 2012 or 2013 when Tony Scott unfortunately took his life. I remember making a joke and be like, it was probably because they were talking his next movie was going to be Top Gun 2. And I'm like, well, at least he doesn't have to make Top Gun 2. And then yet, here we are. 6 Academy Award nominations, folks. So
he'd be flipping in his grave. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. So we'll see. We're coming at it with low. We're coming at it with low expectations.
We're gonna So
tune in next week. Maybe
I have an open mind.
Yeah, same.
What movie would I? There's no movie out there that I wouldn't watch.
No,
so
absolutely.
Here we are. I mean, I guess
I like watching movies, even if I hate
some right wing stuff that I just don't care to watch. But yeah, but that's
all right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for go watch Top Gun Maverick or go to the Reddit if you've already watched it, which you probably fucking have because it made like billions of dollars. Go tell us what you think about it. Tell us why it's good. Convince us that we need to see it, so I don't just read the Wikipedia page. I'm just kidding. I watch all the movies. We watch all the movies.
And we'll see it. Yeah. We just make it. I just watched one YouTube video and I'm like, all right, I got this.
I got the gist.
Okay, guys. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.